Rewind-A-Dynamite from the post-wrestling site. AEW, lighting up the fuse. Sit back and enjoy the bubbly as we hear from Jon and Wai Ting. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And if the buck stops here, this thing might blow. Everything you hear are opinions of the show. And if you don't like it, go to the forums and let them know.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Rewind-A-Dynamite. It's Jon, Pollock, and Wai Ting joining us live from Toronto. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Jon. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well.
Okay.
Busy day.
You feel healthy?
I'm improving, I guess. Still have symptoms, but better than days past. How about yourself? You were feeling it on Monday?
Yeah, I was feeling on Tuesday too, but today was certainly a lot better. So thank you for asking.
Yes. Tonight took over 2 hours to put my daughter to sleep.
Ooh.
Just
sorry.
Nuts.
Yeah.
It's like I was trying to explain to her, Wednesdays are very tough for you to refuse to go to sleep because this is the show that it's very hard for me to take breaks to come get you to go to sleep.
And that's your duty, right?
Yeah, I seem to have better luck than my wife with her, but she's when she doesn't want to sleep, she just she won't even stay still. She just gets up. She's just I don't know. There's no magic button to press.
So what do you do? Like what's sort of like your trick?
Sometimes I read to her. Sometimes I will I'll tell her to close your eyes, but when she closes her eyes, she'll squeeze them like she's like, ugh. I'm like, that's not gonna put you to sleep. That's just gonna be difficult. Usually it's just do nothing, and she's going to eventually just short circuit and fall asleep.
But she just likes having you in the room.
I guess so. Yeah, she doesn't because if one of us leaves, then she'll just get up. She'll just venture out, and she can open gates.
Maybe you just start watching Dynamite on headphones while you're in there.
I've thought of it. Yeah. If we can get to a point where I could just get I could probably just go by the audio and probably piece it together. That might be my next. Just take notes on my phone, listen to on my earbuds. I could do that. So I can't have a screen on. She'll see it and then that won't work. But I could just listen to Dynamite.
You need like goggles or something, like VR goggles or something.
This will get easier. In time. How's Oscar sleeping these days? Is he
I mean, we're honestly blessed with the kid that's able to sleep by himself. So for the most part, pretty good. Like he's maybe been waking up a little bit more, and I think that might be just due to illness. Beyond that, his eating is worse. So
worse.
And I don't know if that's because he's been sick too, but he's really not been taking as much lately. So now he's learned how to puke. So we're that's kind of fun. We don't know if he's doing it in revolt because he doesn't want to eat something, or if it
hunger strike.
Could be that, yeah, or maybe he's auditioning for a role in the WWE. I don't know if you got that or not, but
I got it. I think everyone got puke.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, but we're dealing with that, and that's not been the most fun. But I'm sure
sleeping's okay. Naps during the day and
good.
Sleeps most of the night. Wow. Consider yourself blessed.
Very, very much so.
Okay. Well, there you have it, everybody. There's the latest and greatest. We have several shows coming up that we want to alert everybody for. This is your last call to get your questions in for the ASK-A-WAI Mailbag show on Thursday, where you can ask such questions as tricks to get your children to sleep, tricks to get your children to eat, or anything else that is on your mind. You can send your questions forum.postwrestling.com or memo.fm/postwrestling for your audio questions. That show will be going up Thursday. All members at postwrestlingcafe.com. A simple $6 subscription gets you a month of access to the Cool Club with all of our extra shows, minimum of 3 per week. And this week alone, you will be getting the ASK-A-WAI Mailbag show, then Rewind to SmackDown Friday night, and Collision Course with John Cena and Kate from Montreal. Next week, we will have a Rewind-A-WAI coming out before the end of the month, covering ECW's December to Dismember 2006, featuring an extreme elimination chamber match. Why is it extreme? Because each person gets a weapon.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Cage is not enough. They need weapons on top of it. So we will review what was generally considered one of the worst pay-per-views of all time in WWE history. So that will be coming up next week for members of the Café. But also this weekend, we have the Survivor Series show. We will be live as soon as that show concludes on Saturday night from Chicago, with Wai and I going through the War Games festivities. And then, yes, the week will end with Collision Course on Sunday. But people can also check out a recent edition of the Wellness Policy featuring Jordan's major announcement.
Huge announcement. Yes.
Major announcement. No pre-sales.
No pre-sales that I know of. I don't even think they have a date. So I guess that's to be announced.
Yeah. So go check that out. How did you find Volume 2 of Music?
I really enjoyed the conversation. I mean, it was very casual. Honestly, at this point, we don't really prepare for the Wellness Policy anymore. It's just, let's pick a topic and let's just like talk about it. And for me and Jordan, at least, music is a very easy one to talk about. And we had a lot of interaction from the post-wrestling community as well. So if you're interested in hearing what some of the people that might listen to these podcasts or host these podcasts may have grown up listening to, well, check out this conversation.
All right. Today on Pollock and Thurston, we had Nick Houseman back on the show to chat about the latest going on in AEW, some of his reporting on the status of MJF and his contract with the company, and then a lot on the NWA and the CW network. And we talk about the big cocaine spot from Samhain, their recent pay-per-view featuring Father Jim Mitchell and Goat Boy. So if you want all the impact of Goat Boy in broadcast television,
I feel like worst promotional tactic has been wrapped up this year already.
That is one that we still might need to look at. There's been quite some promotional tactics this year, but one that could have had the most significant ramifications, perhaps, per Nick's reporting. So you can check that out, as well as Brendan and I going over all the latest news from the past couple of days. So that is up on the site as well. And a quick plug for our good friends at Poison Rana this coming Saturday night. If you're not going to be staying at home by yourself watching the Survivor Series, well, the next best thing is downtown Toronto at Gabby's, 309 King Street West. It is the watch party with Braden, Davey, and company. It is your chance to go hang out with the Poison Rana crew and watch the Survivor Series. The return of Randy Orton inside of a packed bar. What more could you ask for?
Nothing. That's the only thing you could possibly ask for. Yeah,
maybe the whole bar will start singing voices in unison.
I almost guarantee it.
Yeah. Braden will be, and I'm sure many others will be watching him as he sings a cappella.
And you could possibly leave as the world heavyweight champion of the WWE, John. Did you know this, that they're giving away a championship belt at this event?
I mean, why not? Seems
those things are expensive. That's why.
Maybe they'll have a covered belt throughout the whole night, and then at the end they will unveil the belt, like we saw ringside at Dynamite tonight.
Well, I'm talking about the Seth Rollins title, which was supposed to be part of Davey's Halloween costume and arrived late. So,
oh no.
Now he's got it, and he's going to be giving it away. So if you want to leave champion and watch Survivor Series, poisonrana.ca for tickets to their War Games watch party.
All right, check out all of that. We will move on over to just a few news items because we're going to be spending most of the time on Dynamite. But kind of the theme for the night is the Continental Classic. And this afternoon, they held their selection special to announce all of the participants. So we have the Blue League and the Gold League, blue and gold. And in the Blue League, we have Bryan Danielson, Andrade El Idolo, Brody King, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and Eddie Kingston. Over in the Gold League, it is Jon Moxley, Swerve Strickland, Roosh, Mark Briscoe, Jay Lethal, and Jay White. So I would say, first of all, your impression of the participants.
I think it's a really strong field. if the sort of comparison point is the G1, then this couldn't have been simply a tournament full of mid-carders, and it's not. I mean, it's a good mix, but predominantly you have some of the biggest stars in the entire company in Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. And at this point, I think, somebody like a Swerve Strickland or Jay White, somebody who just main evented your pay-per-view. Along with that, Eddie Kingston, who's always a fan favorite, and a bunch of up-and-comers that like it, Andrade El Idolo or Brody King, or Claudio Castillo, Daniel Garcia, absolutely. So I think it's a really strong mix, and everybody, how many people are here? 12. All 12 people, every matchup you can almost like look forward to. So
yeah, it seemed like the lineup was met with pretty positive reaction. I would say Bryan Danielson is the key person in this. I think that this feels as though it's a tournament built around him for him to showcase. And you have the match with Eddie Kingston that I think will be very unique. You have a rematch with Garcia. It's funny that he'll be doing the rematch with Andrade, who is where he injured the orbital bone, but in storyline, it was due to Okada and Orange Cassidy. So they can't really draw attention to that, even though there is a built-in story for this rematch. That, and we're probably going to get the only singles match in AEW between Castagnoli and Danielson in this tournament. Mm-hmm. And then on the gold side, I would say, based on tonight, we will get into the matches. Tonight featured everyone in the Gold League was in action tonight. Moxley is a big addition. And I think it just speaks to the depth of AEW that here we are, this tournament, there is no Kenny Omega, there is no Hangman Page. And still you have like this level of depth that overall, like this is the first year that they're doing this. And I think they know that this needs to stand out as more than just one of dozens of tournaments that AEW has done. This one needs to stand out in a bit of a different way. And the only thing I would like to see them put out maybe like a schedule of all the matches. So not just for fan interest, but also all these markets that you're coming to. Like, when is that Danielson Claudio match happening? When is that Danielson Kingston match happening? And you can have several weeks to promote all these matches. Like, you should be able to have all of the dates scheduled here, and hopefully they don't run into any problems along the way, like an injury or something that could throw all this into chaos.
Well, I wonder if they even know when Bryan Danielson might actually.
Well, yeah, he's not announced for Saturday, and I mean, it's tough. Like he is the one that everyone is banking. Now, I guess worst case, if he's not cleared this week, like he can make up time and wrestle on a Dynamite and a Collision to get to his 5 matches. But even so, like it's, when he did his like video thing today, he was noting the fact that his orbital was broken in 2 places, which I assume is legitimate what he's stating. And, the fact that he had not been cleared to fly as of the last update. And here he is, needing to, I don't see any of these matches being, simple, just smoke and mirrors or anything like that you can get away with. That would be to his satisfaction either.
No, there's no Toriano in this field, unfortunately, for the break match. But they need to build this tournament as something that is of like high quality, high in-ring quality. And I think maybe this was planned a long time ago, but at least like the timing of something like this, I think is very important for AEW, because they're facing a lot of criticisms, especially coming off of Full Gear, of being too sports entertainment reliant and not maybe delivering maybe what the calling card for the company was at the beginning, and that's just strictly in-ring content. So at least with this field, you can almost be kind of like assured that every match is going to deliver something of that caliber.
And we'll get into the matches itself, but yeah, the rules, we got the 20-minute time limits, so that'll be the length, which they can even call up the network and get more time if needed be to make these time limits legit. As this match got in the ring at like 9:51 for Moxley and Mark Briscoe. But yes, 3 points for the win, 1 for a draw. Everyone is banned from ringside in big block letters, so you better put your money where your mouth is, Way. You better tuned in to Dynamite tonight, okay? All your complaints. We're giving you 3 matches tonight.
So a DQ is 3 points, I'm assuming, for the other person?
Yeah, I guess so. If you get disqualified, you would lose.
Right. Okay.
So I guess that's how it's explained.
Any predictions so far? Early on?
I would think that you know, a lot of people are looking at the potential of doing like a Moxley Danielson in the finals. I could see that. I guess with the ROH and strong titles, I don't see Kingston going to the finals here, even though it's his titles at stake. I would say Danielson is almost a lock unless there's an injury that's going to affect him in this tournament. Being on the one side, and then the gold side, I would say Moxley and Swerve would be your standouts. I almost don't want to see Swerve win this thing, because I think that this then almost becomes his thing, right? Like he gets a championship and is away from the world title mix that I think he has elevated himself to. And I think the audience sees him at that level as well. But again, you also don't want to position this as secondary either. But I guess those would be my three on the short list: Moxley, Swerve, and Danielson.
I personally do see Kingston making it to the end, just because they made a big deal of him, you know, being the guy that is defending these championships. And even though he will certainly lose a match or two within this entire tournament, I think the visual of having him actually be the person that the last person pins to win the championships might be something that's important for them to do. So I could see him winning the blue.
Kingston and Moxley there's a shot of that.
Or Kingston and Swerve, you know, if you're looking to actually cement somebody. I don't disagree with you that, like, you know, we all want to see Swerve maybe with the big championship, but I also know that they might have a lot of plans in place for MJF and Adam Cole with that, you know, world championship. And I don't know if they're willing to change that just for Swerve, whereas this might be their idea of, you know, satisfying an audience that wants to see him in a significant role. Whether or not that will be satisfying enough, I mean, remains to be seen, but I could see him at least going to the end.
This is also, given the timing of this tournament overlapping, would suggest that there won't be any ROH title match at Final Battle. Because Final Battle is in the middle of December. So it would make no sense for Kingston to be able to defend this title at that pay-per-view.
That's a very good point. I didn't realize that. So Final Battle's not going to have a world title match.
It wouldn't make any sense to have one.
Yeah.
Like you could do one of these tournament matches at Final Battle, but it's not really the same as a title. Like the title, you literally can't make
You're not going to. They showed you all the dates.
Did they show all the dates? Oh, you're right. They did. They promoted all the cities that they're taking place in, just not when each match is taking place. Yeah.
But they at no point showed any ROH like logo. You know, it's either Rampage, Dynamite, or Collision. So
yeah,
that's very interesting. This Final Battle looks pretty skippable, actually, as the weeks go on, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be the Shibata match that'll headline.
Yeah, they could use that, or I mean, it's Honor Club, right? Like it's not like you're asking for the same amount. And listen, if you're going to headline a show with an Athena, this is the card to do it. If you're gonna headline,
totally. Yeah.
If you're going to headline with MJF and Samoa Joe having to team up one more time before World's End, that's the show to do it on. You can get away with a lot less, because you're not asking people to spend $50 on this show. You're asking them to sign up for Honor Club. There is a different entry point. But on the ROH note, so Thursday night, Ronda Rousey's match will air. And what did you think? I just thought it was very underwhelming the way they promoted this. I don't even know if it was mentioned on Dynamite tonight. Like they promoted it on their social channels.
I didn't notice myself.
Like, to me, you've got this match. Why not make it like a reason to tune in this week? Like you've got the match in the, like, even let's even throw out the idea she's not coming back, she's just doing this one-off. Well, let's just make it something. Like have a promo, if not with Ronda, at least with Marina, and make this a big deal. Ronda Rousey Thursday night on ROH, and it's like this is going to come and go tomorrow night, and I don't feel it's going to be of any value to Honor Club, and I don't see anybody that, like, it just to me is not getting the value out of Ronda Rousey doing this match and capitalizing on it. Like, I don't even care what the long term is. We've got this match. We're showing it. Let's blow it up.
Agreed. It was kind of strange. And I don't know what's sort of at play there. Like, do they feel like because she might not be sticking around, we don't necessarily want to make it we don't want to get people's hopes up that she'll appear at Final Battle or something. I don't know. I can't really explain it. Like, even if it's a one-off, just to get people to sign up for the service, so that
you're not promising anything by showing the match. You're just saying, hey, Ronda Rousey's wrestling on Honor Club tomorrow night. It's like, if people get their expectations up, that's fine. Like, we're not leading you in that. Like, to me, you're airing the match. So at this point, we're committed to promoting this.
And what day is Final Battle here? 15th.
15th.
So if you paid for your subscription today, you get Final Battle.
That's a great point. Like, you could have done the double whammy here, that see Ronda Rousey, sign up for Honor Club, and you are insured Final Battle next month as well. That's a great point. That would have been a big hook to get a month out of Honor Club. That they should have, I understand they have a lot of stuff to push, especially on Dynamite, which was really packed, but you've got them. I was very underwhelmed by that here it was a tweet. Yeah. And it's like, here was something that was pretty much feels like it fell into your lap. Like, I would not have been surprised if Ronda was the one that just pitched this and you had, it was a gift. So let's enhance what we've got here and make the most out of this for what's been a very fledgling product.
And just to, if not just bring attention to Marina Shafir, but to bring attention to Athena, who might be headlining your next pay-per-view. And she really had no presence at all tonight.
Yeah. So I just thought that was a part of Dynamite that you could have watched it and you would not have been leaving with any observation of what's happening on our club tomorrow. All right. All your news can be found we have quick ratings to go through, and then we will move on to the show. But so starting with Raw on Monday night, they did 1,459,000 viewers, a 0.49 in the demo, down a percentage in viewers, which was minimal, but up 12% in the demo, their highest 18 to 49 number since September the 4th. And what's so amazing about this is they were up against the Chiefs and Eagles game that did over 28 million viewers across ABC, ESPN, and the Manning Cast on ESPN2. This was the most watched Monday Night Football game since November of 1996. 1996, okay? Julia Hart was -6 when that game was played. And they were up in the demo against this huge football game, which is amazing. They were up 11% in 18 to 34, up 23% in men 18 to 34, and up 13% in 35 to 49. They did fall throughout the show, but I mean, like regular drops as well. And the fact that the demo was up this week and up by, this was their highest 18 to 49 number all of this year's football season. So, I mean, this was very, very impressive that they performed so well and were unaffected by a football game watched by 28 million people.
People want to know who. I guess they didn't really even tease the announcement of the 5th member. Actually, before the show, it wasn't until during the show that when you realized they would be doing that. But I guess that was maybe good enough, or just maybe the promise of this advantage match was enough to hook people.
That was it. That Drew McIntyre promo, which there was a drop off after that first quarter. Maybe they heard Drew. They're like, we'll be back in the main event because I'm sure this guy's going to get into the advantage match. So very impressive number for Raw on Monday night. Tuesday's NXT, which was taped from a week ago, was down 12% to 622,000 viewers and down 10% in the demo, a 0.19. And they were down pretty significantly with female viewers and both males and females in 18 to 34 with a 29% drop in that demo as well. So they will be back live next week where they are doing a fatal 4-way match where Wesley needs to beat Bronson Reed, Johnny Gargano, and Cameron Grimes to get a shot at Dominic Mysterio at Deadline. So he has to beat 3 former North American champions. I feel he's going to pin Cameron Grimes. That's my expectation in this match.
Pretty good chance of that. Yeah.
And that's it. Big edition of NXT where we got, did you happen to see the segment where Von Wagner went to Robert Stone's house and had dinner with his wife and kids? This was Von Wagner. There has not been a character in NXT that has had a greater turnaround to me this year than Von Wagner. This man has been just, they have done an amazing job of crafting this guy's story and making him just this lovable figure on NXT. And this guy was just an abyss of charisma a year ago. I think I gave him worst on the mic last year, and this year, man, he's like a totally like 3-dimensional character that they have created with this story of his upbringing, his brain surgery, and then this angle with Braun Breaker. And here he is like taking names from these 2 little kids of the bullies at school that he's going to go take care of. I mean, heartwarming, to say the least.
Was this Robert Stone's actual family, you think?
I think it was. I don't think I think it is. I think it's his legit family. At least that was my
Amazing.
impression. Yes. So a fun segment that they had. Okay. Let us go to Dynamite tonight at the Wintrust Arena in Chicago. That did have a late push over the last couple of days. So the last update from WrestleTix, almost 4,800 people. So the last time they ran the Wintrust Arena was in June for one of the early episodes. This was the only Dynamite that Punk appeared at during his return phase, where he showed up for a segment right before Forbidden Door. And they did about 6,300 for that show. So down to under 4,800 for this one, but 4,800, it's not an awful number, but not a blowaway number either for the market. I will say though, until there were some segments in the opening hour and a half that certain stars they were into, but it really didn't feel until the Moxley Briscoe match happened that the crowd really got into something. Like there was it did not feel like a boisterous Chicago crowd for a lot of this show.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say like any particular reaction stood out that much for me all throughout the night. Like I didn't think it was quiet by any means, but I also didn't think it was maybe exceptionally loud like maybe other crowds have been. So,
well, maybe they all needed a shot of Woo Energy, which was plastered over the entrance, the new official energy drink of Dynamite.
And also on the commentators' desks. So this is, I guess, the product that is paying for, evidently paying for Ric Flair's appearance. So this is why he's here. And I guess they're not really selling this ad space too often anyway, right?
No. And didn't use them in Chicago, which is a big him nor Sting. I would assume they'll make it to Chicago before his retirement.
Probably saving that. They'll be back to Chicago at least 5 times before Revolution.
They'll have a few. They'll probably do a top 10 countdown of Sting appearances in Chicago. Kicking off the show is Swerve Strickland and Jay White in the Gold League. And
Jay Lethal.
Jay Lethal. I've got my J's mixed up here in my notes, but Swerve Strickland and Jay Lethal in the Gold League, and Swerve Strickland is out with his shoulder taped up, and they showed some highlights from the Texas Death Match. No Hangman Page on the show, and you have the explanation of no run-ins either. Though for all we know, Hangman Page is still unconscious somewhere from Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm perfectly happy with that. Like after a match like that, you shouldn't show your face for a while.
And after this performance, this Chicago crowd, they were willing to embrace the baby kidnapper.
Yes, they were. Yeah, I guess
they loved Swerve in this.
You want to rehab your image after a baby kidnapping? Just have a great Texas death match. It was. I'll say, like, I mean, but this happens all the time in pro wrestling, right? Where I think performances are so good that you forget the story and you just simply are able to show respect to the performer that you're seeing. And I think that by having Swerve be the first person to walk out here, this was a good way of the company capitalizing on, the talk of the show, or at least one half of the talks of the show from Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, without question, I would say Swerve was the star of the pay-per-view, and that match was beyond the standout. So Swerve goes after Lethal's knee, and then Lethal yanks at the injured arm and shoulder. So they're both working on these body parts, and they go through the picture-in-picture. Swerve's shoulder is rammed into the post, and Swerve comes back, rolling flatliner, and Lethal gouges the eyes, hits an inverted vertical suplex, and the elbow drop off the top for a 2 count. Swerve comes back, stretch muffler, which Lethal makes it to the rope, and then Swerve hits a running drop kick to stop the lethal injection, hits the house call and the Swerve stomp in 13 minutes and 52 seconds. Swerve picks up 3 points in the Gold League, and nice, fine match. I would say it was, good, but I didn't think it elevated itself to great. But you could certainly see this audience, they just wanted to be behind Swerve. Like, they took him as the baby face in this match, and he does feel significantly elevated coming out of this whole thing with Hangman.
Very much so. And it didn't even require, like, I think that I guess intensive a performance for him to achieve it here. Simply being out here and receiving that adulation from the crowd was enough to kind of really cement him. And I don't think they'll stick with him as a babyface or anything. This is just sort of like the nature of round robin tournaments where you'll get babyface versus babyface matches and heel versus heel matches. thankfully, this one I thought worked out a lot better because the crowd was so into Swerve. It worked out better to me than the Jay White Roosh match, where that double heel match, the crowd didn't really have anybody that they wanted to cheer for. But this was coming off of Texas Death Match, and Swerve being positioned as a babyface came very naturally. So this was a really good glimpse at what he would be like working as a babyface.
Renee is with Orange Cassidy, Hook, and Shibata. And Orange Cassidy has an announcement, but before he can state it, Yuta comes in, making light of how he beat Moxley and needed so many orange punches, calls Hook a greenhorn, and that Shibata is holding his pure championship, and I'm going to take it back. But as he leaves, they're out of time, and Orange Cassidy is cut off, cannot deliver his announcement.
Yeah, so Yuta, like in a rare sort of instance, is actually promoting an ROH TV show, which never happens. And like you mentioned, John, you figured it would be for the Ronda Rousey match, but it was not. It was for whatever match Yuta has, and then it was also for Shibata's defense of the pure title against who? I don't even know. I don't even think they even mention, or is it Yuta that's actually going for it for the pure title?
Oh, that's I think the long-term goal is facing Shibata for.
So Shibata doesn't have a defense tomorrow.
I think he's on the show. I don't think it's a
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, so they're leading us towards Yuta versus Shibata at Final Battle, you would assume.
And you have the outstanding match with Hook still as well. So
yes, Brian says Shibata is facing Trent Beretta tomorrow.
So we have next up, it is MJF coming out with a cane, followed by Adam Cole on crutches. So MJF had to have his hip pop back in.
This was legit.
Yeah, fun experience to go through. And he said that on Saturday night, he learned Jay White is one of the best wrestlers in the world. However, nobody is on the level of the devil. He's got the most defenses of all time, the longest reigning, and dare I say, the greatest AEW champion of all time. None of that would be possible without Adam Cole. And Cole acknowledges the help of Joe, that they're still the ROH tag champions, but my ankle's in really bad shape. I'm not even close to walking yet. I've got a long road ahead, but I'm going to work my ass off every day to get back here. And starts to ask about this devil that's coming after him and all the goons. And MJF just stops, says he's going to send that guy to hell. And we cut to the devil laughing, cackling as the lights go out. And when they come up, MJF and Cole are there in the ring, and Samoa Joe makes his entrance, calling Adam Cole a less adequate friend who couldn't defend MJF on Saturday. And he expects to get his title match that MJF has promised. And to which MJF says, regarding your title match, blow me. And Joe goes to choke him. And Cole begs him to stop. Cole says, this is what the old MJF would do. But the new MJF is a man of his word, who would do what he says to the people is what he will do. And you promised him a shot. Be a man of your word. So very interesting here that it was Cole talking him into giving the shot to Samoa Joe. And MJF says that Joe won't be the first ROH legend that I've beaten in Chicago twice, and suggests we do the match tonight. And Joe turns this down because MJF would complain about this tomorrow, that he was hurt and he wants to face the best version of MJF. And they propose World's End on December 30th. MJF agrees, and when he refers to Long Island as the most magical place on earth, the crowd boos. MJF says, I don't give a shit. But then he tries to win them back by stating he likes deep dish pizza and to calm down. Wrestling him in Long Island is like copping head from an alligator. And Joe says, you don't have to worry about this devil because MJF is my property. I'm going to have your back even when you don't see me. And then I will strangle you unconscious in front of everybody you know and love at the pay-per-view. So that is our main event for December the 30th. And quite a lengthy segment here.
It was, yeah, as maybe, some of these tend to be. But, I mean, when it's the world champion in your A program, I didn't really mind it. I think it's a strong match for a pay-per-view, especially with MJF wrestling in front of his hometown crowd. I'm more so excited though by like the back and forth that we might continue to see between these two on the microphone. I think they showed great chemistry the first time, and I think they continue to show it tonight. I think they're both so witty and so quick, and Joe is able to sound so wonderfully threatening, which is a perfect counter to the type of babyface that MJF still is, who has still, like, he's retained some of the qualities of like being a chicken shit heel, even though he's a babyface. And I think Joe is like a wonderful counter to it. So I mean, as you mentioned, thought it was interesting that Cole was urging MJF to take the match, because it fits the possible reveal that Cole just simply wants the belt off of MJF.
Orange Cassidy, Katsuyori Shibata, and Hook against Jake Hager, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker. And Cassidy gets on the mic. He's got a Thanksgiving surprise. Danhausen returns, and he comes out. Big pop here in Chicago. And then they start the match. They get the advantage on Hook. We come back. Cassidy's in, hits a stun dog to Hager. Shibata's in, trades strikes with Hager, and then hits the big baseball slide drop kick. They triple team Shibata when Danhausen gets on the apron, and he's got Hager's purple hat. And he puts it on. Hager goes after him, and he is cursed. Orange Cassidy hits a dive, and then Shibata and Hook apply chokes onto Menard and Parker. Hook doesn't have the legal man, so they have to switch victims, and Parker submits to the Red Rum in 8 minutes and 7 seconds.
Mm-hmm. A fun trios match. Yeah, I think, you know, they seem to have collected a really interesting group here of, like, what do all these characters have in common, you know?
Nothing, but they are in the same company.
Yeah. I think, I mean, they're all fan favorites first and foremost, and I suppose in their own right, they're all somewhat quiet, except for Danhausen. I need to see the next step. I need to see these four having dinner together, and I need to know what that conversation is like. I need to see these four maybe go play racquetball or something. Like, give me some vignettes. Let's build some sort of like camaraderie between the four, or lack thereof.
Okay, well, that's some character depth we can all explore in the weeks to come. Renee catches up with Adam Cole, who is confronted by Roderick and the Kingdom, and asks where Roddy was when he was dropped on his head by Action Andretti. And Cole says, "You're not my best friend anymore. Leave me alone." So this was Dick Cole as he just stormed off and left Roddy. And I think we're going to start to see the sympathy come towards Roddy.
You can hear a little bit of booze, I felt, from at the end of the segment here. So yeah, I think maybe intentionally drawing a bit of a heel reaction here as they continue to tease, I guess, a heel turn for Adam Cole.
Then it was time for Christian, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne to come out for the rechristening. Christian says that Saturday didn't go their way, but I did not lose that match. Nick Wayne did not lose that match. Luchasaurus lost that match, and that's unacceptable. And he asks, how can we get rid of this losing aura? You are both my children. It's time to recreate you both in my image. And he tells Luchasaurus to take a knee and calls him a moron before he finally does, and says his name will always be associated with being a loser. So he's come up with a name, one of strength, toughness, and it means victory. My finish. You are now Kill Switch. It's like, oh my God.
I thought it was going to be the Unprettier.
I thought so too, as well. You are unpretty Saurus. So Nick Wayne immediately gets on one knee. Christian's like, don't ever get on your knee for another man. You never have to get on a knee for somebody. Just hilarious. As Luchasaurus is still down on his knee. He says, you're special. You're my golden boy. You are me. I love you, Nick. You are now the prodigy, Nick Wayne. That's your new name. And out comes Shayna Wayne.
She got a new name too.
There you have it. Shayna Wayne comes out, and Christian just berates this poor woman, calls her a terrible mother, couldn't provide for Nick with your $40,000 a year waitressing job, couldn't give him anything, this prodigy. It's a good thing your husband is dead, because Nick would have disowned him, and not nearly the man or father that I am. So go punch your card, because I think your shift at Denny's is about to begin. And Luchasaurus has heard enough here, and he gets into Christian's face, and he's also taking his knee up. So Cage demands, get back on your knees, and he starts slapping Kill Switch. and the crowd is chanting Luchasaurus. And Cage threatens to rip his mask off and show his disheveled face to the audience that they will be to shriek in horror at. And then shoves Luchasaurus into Shayna Wayne, who goes that she was unconscious. She was down and out. Nick Wayne's just looking at his unconscious mother, and Cage calls on Nick to get the chairs. And Cage is about to deliver a concerto when he looks at Kill Switch and instructs him to kill. So Luchasaurus holds up this chair, and finally Adam Copeland has queued up his music to come out and comes to save this woman, this unconscious woman, and spears Nick Wayne, grabs the chairs. Cage escapes when Luchasaurus yanks him out of the ring, spears Nick Wayne a second time, then an impaler DDT, and then Christian's yelling from the entrance, "That's my child," as Copeland lifts up the chair. Shayna is yelling at Copeland, "Wait a minute, that's still my son." And he hits the concerto, and Shayna's in tears. And this is a heroic act by Adam Copeland, who has just killed this child. And this was quite the segment.
Yeah, you said it. It was certainly quite the segment. I thought it was maybe a segment of two halves, and I thought the first half with everything, Christian was fantastic as he has been this entire time, and I thought they did a tremendous job of building Luchasaurus here and doing. I mean, this is the Kane playbook, isn't it? You know, you're berating this poor, quiet, giant masked man. And you just want to cheer for this guy to finally revolt against his master. And I think Christian did a tremendous job here of building up that heat. I had issue with everything after once Shayna Wayne arrived. And to me, I understand this is a scene involving a half man, half dinosaur, but I do still expect a little bit of believability in the grudges here and in some of the sort of character motivations. And I don't know why Nick Wayne hates his mother so much. I don't like what has he said about his mom?
I mean, he's under the spell of Christian that has like poisoned his mind. That here this
But what has Christian said again, like about his mom?
That she hasn't provided for him. This is a prodigy.
I mean, sure, I suppose to some that might be enough, but it's not enough for me to think that not only would this guy leave and let his mom get attacked, he would aid in the attack of his mom. And yes, whatever, pro wrestling, it's sort of like a different line for everybody. If you could suspend your disbelief enough to accept an Irish whip, maybe you could probably accept this. I couldn't really get into all of that. And to me, it was just it just kind of felt like a little bit over the top with the villainy for the sake of it. I also didn't really completely understand the Copeland actions here. My assumption is that, I mean, this is going to, I guess, affect Shayna so much. Like, do you sense maybe Shayna joining Christian, at the end of all of this?
I can see that being a direction that you get out of this, and this might be a bridge towards that.
I thought, though, if that was the case, I thought there was a better way of doing it without making Copeland look like such a, I guess, asshole. Like,
I mean, he was saving this woman from a
okay,
concussion at the least.
He did it, but then he also attacked the woman's son right in front of her. And
well, we're not supposed to have sympathy for Nick Wayne.
I personally think there was a better way of getting to it if you could have had Copeland doing it with more justification. Like if he was attacking Wayne out of self-defense. And rather, like what he did here was he came out here, delivered 2 spears to Nick Wayne, then an impaler, and on this lifeless body that was not fighting back, delivered a concerto to him in front of his mother. None of that felt really justified of a heroic, act, right? So beyond that, I think he needed to show remorse to the mom when he realized what he did. And everything tonight, I just thought didn't make him look like a good babyface at all.
Mm. Yeah, it was. I can see some people not digging this segment. I thought overall, I feel that the audience got into this angle. I think at different parts of it. Maybe it wasn't a smooth ride for the duration of it. I think overall, I think you increased like the interest of seeing Copeland finally getting his hands on Christian. That is your destination here, which maybe this should be at least some temporary removal of Nick Wayne. Like the concerto spot shouldn't be something he just pops back from in a week.
Yeah, you would think so.
But you could see also like Shayna Wayne like joining Christian. Like that is sort of been you can see that being an angle that they go with.
Yeah.
Renee is with Anna Jay, and Menard complains about everything that's going on. Hager is upset about the hat, and Anna Jay says, "This is about me. I just want to wrestle. I'm sick of losing, sick of the infighting. Tonight is about me." And Parker is showing with a photo of Ruby on his phone. So a lot going on here, as we would see in the upcoming three-way match. Rush and Jay White is our next Gold League match, and the Guns come out with White, but they are sent to the back before the bell rings. White gets rammed into all of the barricades around the corner, and then Rush brings out a cable, and Paul Turner warns him about this. White then takes over during the picture-in-picture, and we see White take a senton, but comes back with the brainbuster. White gouges the eyes, eats a leaping knee, and then comes off the ropes, and White catches him with a Uranagi. Rush blocks the Blade Runner. They're chopping each other. Dragon screw by Jay White, and then a belly-to-belly throws Jay White into the corner. Bull's horns get stopped as Jay tries for the Blade Runner. It's avoided, and they try to run into Paul Turner, who who turns his back in the corner to shield himself. And with the back turned, Jay White kicks Rush in the balls and hits the Blade Runner to win in 13 minutes and 53 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm waiting for next year's Continental Classic. No interference, no testicle shots.
Well, listen, you can, if the ref doesn't see it, you can't really call it, right? So you could always still do that. I thought the work was pretty solid here, but I didn't think the heat was very strong. And for me, it was because I didn't think there was a clear baby face. Now, Nathan in the chat claims that Rush and LFI are faces. I mean, they very well could be. I would suggest
they murdered somebody a few months ago in one of their vignettes, didn't they?
I mean, it wasn't. That was a test. That was supposed to be a test, right? I could okay if they're faces, I would contend they're not very over ones. And at the end here, I didn't think the crowd really wanted one to win over the other, and that was a bit of an issue. But in a round robin, you're going to get matches like this.
Yeah, I like the match. It was. I think Jay White is going to have a really entertaining tournament with the different people he's with, and for Rush, he definitely has a momentum since this return that hopefully he can have some standout matches. He definitely has the opponents to do that. Good match. I would say of the first two here, nothing wrong with them, but I think for this tournament, you wanted to have like at least one like blow away match that was going to set the tone for this tournament, that this is going to be at a different level. I wouldn't say you got that out of these first two matches other than, good wrestling, serviceable.
Well, again, if the comparison point is the G1, I mean, AEW is going to be at a huge disadvantage because of the television format. It just might not be possible to do, false finishes in every single one of these tournament matches, right? Not to say every G1 match has one of those, but
these are standard lengths. Like they have the same amount of time.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, well, it's going to be compared to it. Yeah, sure.
There was a recap of the ladder match, and then the angle where Starks and Big Bill attack Jericho after the media scrum, running an equipment box into his previously injured right arm, and the question of how long this will take Jericho out. So you could see that one being for Long Island as well, the tag title match. RJ City and Renee are on the stage and announce, and the AEW Women's Championship goes to Timeless Toni Storm, and there she is in the crowd in black and white, reacting in shock at her name being called, and she is presented the belt on the stage by Mariah May, and she is so embarrassed she didn't have anything prepared, and pulls out her notes and thanks Anthony Khan and Warner Discovery, including Jack Warner, who died like 50 years ago. And all the little Toni Storms out there, stay in school, maybe get into a trade. And she is interrupted by Skye Blue, who is making her entrance for her next match and probably a tease of a title match to come. But fun segment here, and I think this is going to be the balancing act of great character work and being able to more seamlessly work this into the match stuff as well, because it seems like they have endless ideas for the character portion. It's marrying the two. That was a struggle on Saturday, and we'll see how they rectify that.
I think all they have to do is pull back a little bit on the pay-per-view nights, specifically, like, or any major title defense. I think part of the disappointment of the match on Saturday was the fact that we know the type of match Shida and Storm could have. And without all the shenanigans, I mean, we've seen those matches. They've been very good. I think just when it's time to be serious, just let her wrestle and pull back on some of the gimmickry. But the gimmickry for television is fantastic. Every new idea we've seen them debut for this character, be it the silent films or, I don't know, some of the stuff that they've done in just the black and white, and then something like this. Everything I think has been fantastic. And to think that they're putting this much production behind a member of their female roster, to me that's almost unprecedented, because like, who have they done that for in the women's division at all in their entire history? It's, to me, incredibly successful. It's very entertaining. I love the award ceremony here, and subtle building of the Mariah May storyline when Tony was talking about how all you little Toni Storms out there, do something else because you're not taking the spot. You had Mariah May acting in the background, being very disappointed. So I think some have suggested this being like sort of some maybe a take on like a classic film about an understudy who wants to infiltrate and eventually take over for the star, and you definitely do get the sense that that's where this is going, rather than maybe the stalker angle that maybe some of us were thinking initially.
That takes us to Anna Jay, Ruby Soho, and Skye Blue. Skye Blue being from Chicago, and so it was about 9:40, and this match is getting into the ring, and this is when Tony Schiavone is noting to set your DVRs. We will be going past the top of the hour, and early on, Anna Jay wraps it's Skye Blue around the post as Menard is yelling, and then Parker approaches Soho, and Menard and Saraya get involved. They want to keep these two apart. This is our Romeo and Juliet storyline, that we are the warring factions. And Skye Blue hits a high cross onto both women and goes for a code blue, and We've got her, like, she almost slid here, and then Anna Jay turns it into a gory bomb to stop the move. Menard then grabs Ruby Soho, and Saraya stops him, starts yelling at Menard, and then Blue knocks Soho off the apron and is caught in the arms of Angelo Parker, and they're staring into each other's eyes, but before they can do anything, their partners pull them away from one another, and with the distraction, Blue then super kicks Anna Jay and hits a TKO to get the win, as Soho is arguing with Saraya and can't break up the pinfall, which occurs at 8 minutes and 53 seconds, and Skye Blue likely moving towards the title match with Toni Storm.
Right. The match I thought was kind of hard to get into, just because they seem to have obligations to tell so much of the Ruby Soho, Angelo Parker story. It's a story I'm not that interested in, and so maybe I was a bit more interested in the match, and therefore a bit more disappointed that maybe the match wasn't a bit more seamless.
Yeah, maybe it requires a little more explanation of why Saraya is so opposed to Ruby Soho being with this guy. It's a distraction for her.
Oh, maybe she just doesn't think this guy is good for her friend.
Well, she hasn't said that yet. We're just like, what's
maybe she thinks Soho could do better.
Okay, well, maybe she should convey that.
Maybe she has.
Like, yeah, you have better options, Saraya. Like, who else is out there? Like, show me like some.
I wouldn't trust her taste in men.
Okay, well, fair. Renee is with Wardlow, who's just randomly lifting equipment, and says that the world doesn't revolve around MJF, and the downfall of the devil will happen on his timeline. AR Fox just walks in. Like, why he cares at all about this is beyond me. He says, he
wants to get on TV. That's the reason, John.
You just want to put the blame on everyone else. And Wardlow comes back and says, I don't need any advice. And he thrusts his head and just murders this guy with a headbutt, which I was not expecting. And down goes AR Fox. And dude, this was the most comical setup for a match that we're probably going to get on Saturday. I mean, this was just like, it's so random. It's just like, hey, we're going to have a match. Let's find a reason for it. Hey, why do you have to put the blame on everyone else? Sad bud.
You just made the segment way more enjoyable than it had any right to be, because this just came and went for me without any thought.
God,
but
dude, this was like,
it's pretty funny thinking about it that way.
Just like argue match. So Saturday night, they're asking you to tune in for 3 hours. And what we have so far is nothing on Rampage. So tune in for an hour and just find out. And then Collision will have Eddie Kingston against Brody King and Claudio Castagnoli against Daniel Garcia. And this is their counter programming of Survivor Series. So we will see how this 3 hour block does.
Thank you, Kate and Sino, in advance, because yeah.
Mark Briscoe, Jon Moxley. The bell rings, crowd comes alive here. Like, it seemed like they were into this match from the get-go. And Briscoe hits a blockbuster off the apron. They're trading blows, picture in picture. Mark Briscoe gets busted open.
I was happy to see that. The underdog was the one bleeding in this match.
No blood from Moxley here. Mm-hmm. Moxley's going for a choke, moves to the armbar, but Briscoe gets to the rope. And then Briscoe comes off the top, nailed in the gut, goes for the Death Rider, but Briscoe pops up, takes him out with a last burst, and they're both down. Briscoe recovers Froggy Bow for a 2 count and then tries for the J Driller that Moxley escapes, hits him with this huge lariat and the Death Rider. And they did this awesome near fall that partially just looking at the time, I'm like, okay, this is it. And when the kick out was made, man, this place went nuts. Getting behind Mark, and he's fighting back. He is put into a choke, kicks off of the rope to roll on top, but then Mark pops up from a half and half, is nailed with a curb stomp, and then Moxley just dumps him with a Death Rider in 11 minutes and 29 seconds. They shake hands afterwards, and then all we needed was a Tony Schiavone, we gotta go.
Yeah, this ended at what, like 10:08?
Yeah, like they went like 7-8 minutes after the hour.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, it's a tournament match. We have Jack Warner himself giving the blessing for this overrun.
That's right. So. That's right. Jack Warner from the heavens gave them an overrun, and I would say, like, this of the three, well, of the whole show, I would say this was the best match. But it was I wouldn't say any of these tournament matches were so above and beyond that I think this tournament, like, they've literally promised, like, this is going to be the tournament of all tournaments, and I didn't have any big complaints about them, but of the three, I thought Briscoe and Moxley came the closest to getting to that level.
Well, simply because of the field and maybe because of the round robin nature of it, I could see it being the tournament of all the AEW tournaments. You know what I mean? Like, it seems to maybe have already more prestige than a lot of the other random tournaments you might have throughout the year, like more than the Owen Hart Cup, you know? So maybe in that sense it is. But like I know what you mean, John. Like, you're expecting, I don't know, 4.5 star and above, right? For these types of matches. And we didn't get that today, but it was also the first night. And I also am curious to see how they can constantly deliver maybe that expectation with the shackles of television programming. Main events might not have some of those limitations, but you know, I mean, it's only the first week, and I'm not really ready to, like, you know, make any sort of judgments on the quality just yet. I thought it was a very good match, you know, a good underdog struggle from Mark Briscoe. And they gave him several big kickouts as a way to give him a moral victory here. I think in round robin booking, you know, upsets are to be expected. It's sort of like one of the things about the G1, right? Anybody can get a win over anybody else just because the points need to kind of, like, you know, play out the way they do. You didn't get any tonight, no upsets at all. But as a first week, I think that's fine. And then the moment you get that shocking victory, maybe they'll make a bigger deal out of it.
Yeah. I think in a perfect world, you also could have announced this field in a bit more of advance than the afternoon of, allow people to really digest
fantasy book.
Exactly. Like that's part of the fun of G1 is like you've got weeks of people doing their pools and predictions, and it becomes you're catering to like that fantasy league observer that makes like a whole season out of this kind of thing. And here they gave you a couple of hours to get ready for this, and it's I think there's limitations. Like you don't know when all these different matches are happening, and hopefully they get that stuff out, but I just think in future iterations, like allow your fans to really anticipation is something that with so much content that comes your way, you don't get too many opportunities to allow people to really want something and wait for something and then deliver it. And granted, there's pay-per-views, there's shows. And I think this is the kind of thing you want to be able to get a bit of a lead for people and to get all that kind of stuff out there.
And how prestigious is this Triple Crown going to be treated after this tournament? I think that'll tell you a whole lot about, how people might take this seriously as well. Like the G1, I think still works because it's for the Wrestle Kingdom main event. Is the Triple Crown going to mean a similar level, without world title implications attached to it? I don't know.
Yeah. Like think about what is the value of a strong championship, an ROH championship, and now you're throwing a third one in versus something like the winner of this tournament is Sting's final opponent. You know what I mean? Like something that the audience would take as, okay, that's significant. Like there's different levels of them. Like titles in and of itself, I think it's harder to make them have that same feel to it in a tournament that doesn't have the prestige and history of like a G1, even that it's just, you say the G1 is selling you because the concept is over to you.
Or timing this maybe before, if All In is going to be traditionally a stadium show, maybe timing this before All In to say the winner gets the main event of All In, for instance, Anyway, maybe getting ahead of ourselves here.
Okay, so you don't have a final judgment on the success of the Continental Classic year one.
They gave you, I think the intent was to show you, okay, this is going to be a star-studded tournament with some sort of like, people in the mid-card looking to make their way up, and they want to give you serious matches with no bullshit finishes. And you didn't, other than the low blow, which I think is fair for a heel like Jay White, you didn't get any bullshit finishes.
All right. So were you happy you put your money where your mouth was tonight?
$0?
Hey, it wasn't my words, and I gave you the PG description.
What are you talking about? What's that in reference to?
This was the Tony Khan mention at the press conference of, for all the people out there that want a sports-based presentation, we're giving you this tournament, so put your money where your effing mouth is. You better be tuning in for this tournament.
Oh, right. What does that mean? Even what does that saying mean?
I think the argument was, and he didn't say it in kind of a malicious way, but it was taken as, for the people that have been complaining about AEW getting away from a sports-based presentation. Well, we've booked this tournament that it's here. All your complaints. There's no run-ins.
No, I'm saying what is the origin of that saying?
Oh, put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
If you complain about something, well, now you have the opportunity to support your vision of something. It's more not literal because yes.
Oh, okay. So
you're not being asked to pay anything, but here, all these people who have complained about so many run-ins, we're giving you a tournament without any run-ins. So, let's see how popular this is.
Back up your words by spending money on.
Yeah. Or at least tuning in here for
got it. Okay.
The literal comparison, but there you go.
So I should put my remote where my mouth is. That's what he should be saying.
Well, don't do that, especially if you have a baby around. It's
he does that.
It is flu season, so okay. That was Dynamite. How about as a follow up to Full Gear? I would say coming out of it, like the big thing felt like it was. I thought they did an adequate job of following up the Texas Death Match. You didn't have Hangman on the show, but I think Swerve was, it was presented as that this was they put it over as the most Excalibur stating the most violent match I've ever seen, which it does not sound like hyperbole.
I really liked the scene of just Swerve simply coming out first on this show and kind of receiving that glow and attention. I could have done with a promo from him after the match just to talk about the win. And like he cut this amazing promo after the match that went online with like blood all over his face. I think he could have done something similar tonight just to kind of really emphasize it. What else was sort of big on the show? I mean, MJF and Cole.
They did have a highlight pack of the ladder match, but like I said on Saturday, I don't think the ladder match is going to be remembered once it's over with. I mean, it's if anything else, I do think out of all of this, like they are establishing Starks and Bill as one of the franchise tag teams of the division, and feuding with Jericho and Omega is only going to further help them in that sense.
Right.
So, all right, we are going to move on over. If you have any super chats and you want to send them in, you're welcome to do so. And we'll be going to forum.postwrestling.com to read some feedback on this edition of Rewind-A-Dynamite.
Let's do a couple super chats here, John. Hansi sends a super chat to say, missed opportunity to call Nick Wayne Nick Cage.
Yeah, probably. Fun joke. Less funny if it was a permanent move, and we'd have to like it's a 1 week joke. But yes, an opportunity there nonetheless.
Yeah, and well, not to mention the legal hurdles, maybe with something like that. I get the sense the Prodigy is one that they want to keep with Nick Wayne, and it's a very earned, appropriate nickname for him.
Yeah.
Brandon from New Jersey sends a super chat. Thank you, Brandon. He says, I do a really good wardrobe impression.
Wardrobe.
You would love it. I think he means the person who headbutted AR Fox tonight, John. What do you think? Are you curious? I'm very curious to hear your Wardlow or wardrobe impression, either one.
Yeah, maybe he can call in Friday and he can give us a lion and a witch one too.
Yes. Thank you guys for your super chats.
Thank you, as always. Let's go to Cody from Maine. Was really looking forward to Dynamite after a great pay-per-view this past weekend, but this show didn't quite click for me. Perhaps it was the opening 30 minutes that set the tone for a bit of an off show. While it's a trend to have performers wrestle quickly after physical matches, it just didn't feel right to have Swerve back in the ring so quickly. An in-ring promo may have been more effective. Or maybe it was the MJF segment, where unfortunately his attempts at comedy died a horrible death in front of that Chicago crowd, although that may have been the case anywhere. Not his strongest material, and the crowd in general was odd, for lack of a better term. Normally, AEW crowds play along with what's going on. Tonight, we heard what chants for two of the most popular acts in the company with Christian Cage and Toni Storm. Not a bad show by any means, but not must-see either. Yeah. The what chants seem to be, like, they've never been fully gone, but they seem to be back with a vengeance over these last couple of months on both WWE.
They're never going away ever.
I know, but they seem to be more like the Pavlovian response of crowds for any kind of lengthy promo that everyone has to battle, and you either ignore them or you acknowledge them. And it just seems, and you're right, like Christian dealt with them, and to a lesser extent Toni Storm. I'm
curious when they're going to permeate outside of professional wrestling. Like, will you ever hear them at like presidential rallies or I don't know, any other forum, like your local town hall, parent teacher council meetings, Curious.
Well, they've started to happen at UFC press conferences because Dana literally has like a hearing issue. So every time someone asks a question, he's like, what? And he's got like his assistant there to like relay.
He's doing the what chant to himself.
Yeah. His hearing is terrible. Yeah.
Well, he's got the whole thing, right? Yeah. Okay, let's go to Mr. Kane, who says, good episode tonight. Good combination of story and in-ring action with some fun wrinkles throughout. That six-man tag was really entertaining. Shibata and Jake Hager need a singles match ASAP. The later women's triple threat was really enjoyable. Definitely a Romeo and Juliet vibe with Cool Hand, Ange, and Ruby Soho. Daddy Magic definitely looks like a Montague. Fun little segment with Toni Storm accepting her title. However, I have a feeling that Toni Storm has a growing problem similar to Roderick Strong as of late. It feels like the character isn't complementing the in-ring skills of the talent. It's more like overshadowing it. I was happy to hear about the announcement of the Continental Classic. I think the mix of established stars makes for a good foundation for what should become an annual event equivalent to the G1. I hope in the future to see more build-up, and maybe we can have a post-prediction contest for it as well. I think it's safe to say that Christian Cage is cinema. Do you agree with the Mr. Kane's thoughts on Toni Storm?
I think that it's at a point right now where it's new, it's very creative, and people are into it. And I think if it was like a one-note joke, I think it could run its course. But I think that they can be smart enough that this can have a lot of flexibility with it, that you can adjust and continue with it for a while.
Well, they have the perfect model of how to make something like this work in Orange Cassidy. somebody who came in strictly as a one-note gimmick, and they made him one of the most, I don't know, compelling in-ring performers in the entire company. And the key to making that gimmick work is he's a great wrestler, and you let him have great matches, right? And Toni Storm as a heel, it's not like you always need her to have like, 4.5 star matches, but in AEW, even as a heel, you need to have good matches. And I hope they kind of learn from, the past Saturday match.
Yeah. All right, last one here comes from Alex, who writes, this may have been said during the commercial as I was watching on Fight, but Excalibur said that the top 2 point scorers will each qualify to the semifinals, presuming that the first place in blue would face second in gold and first in gold facing second in blue, with the winners facing each other at World's End. No idea how they would schedule an extra 2 matches, but I'm okay. And yeah, okay. So they're doing the league finals as I understand
in week 6.
Yes, on before, which I think is Orlando, and then they do the finals on the pay-per-view.
Okay. Hold on. He also says the semifinals would take place on the Dynamite before World's End. Excalibur mentioned this at the final. Okay, yeah, sorry. The finals would be World's End, of course, and the semis would be week 6.
Yes,
right. And it seems like maybe the presumption of first in blue versus second in gold.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right.
If that's what was said, then that was it. That was not explained in the preview.
No. This is Alex thinking that that's what they're going to do.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone for the feedback, and you are more than welcome to always leave your thoughts after all of our shows up at forum.postwrestling.com. Also, if you are tuning in right now and you see that subscribe button, hit the button on the YouTube channel, and then
we're past 15,000.
Are we past 15,000?
In fact, we're past 15,100.
Oh, okay.
So can we get to 15,200? Huh?
We dare you. We dare you to hit the subscribe button. No cost to you, but joyous things that happen to all of us at Post Wrestling by you simply hitting the button as hey, I clicked on this channel. Why not I just say thank you? So please
you might even get some balloons. You might get some confetti.
Oh, look, this is all a very one-sided celebration, but
sorry.
Yeah, maybe we'll get some raindrops or, oh my goodness, look at this. Well, there's all different emotions that are going through Wai Ting as the numbers just escalate and escalate. And we thank all of you for all your support of Post Wrestling. We're back Thursday. ASK-A-WAI Mailbag Show, Post Wrestling, Café.com. Jump on board. You get access to all of our archives going back years and years, including 143 editions of Rewind-A-WAI, 35 editions of the Wellness Policy, and hundreds of hours of ASK-A-WAI, of us asking and answering every question imaginable. And you folks never let us down every month with new questions to answer. So we'll open up a whole new mailbag on Thursday. You can check that out, and then rewind to SmackDown Friday night, 10 Eastern, after SmackDown from Chicago, in the midst of, that's the only 2 hours on Friday night. AEW has the night off on Friday. So big weekend coming ahead with Survivor Series and all that great stuff. So thanks to everyone for tuning in. And that is it for Rewind to Dynamite.